Okay, good evening, everybody that are here. Good evening. I'm so excited to welcome you all to this webinar. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Depending on the time you're listening to this, you're listening to the recording, or you're watching the recording. My name is Abdulatif Adedeji, the Flip Classroom Expert, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to this webinar on student-centered, technology integration. Student-centered technology integration. Okay, so if you are on the group, on the Progressive Educator group, can you please go there now and just comment, we have started. Just comment, we have started with the session, anything like that. Just please comment that. I'll hope you do that. Okay, so we're just going to get right into it. So what do we mean by student-centered technology integration, and why it's an important conversation for us to have in this time and age? Okay, so please, can we still confirm that you can all hear me clearly? Please let me know you can hear me clearly, please. Just type in the comment section that you can hear me clearly. Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. See your message. Okay, great. All right. So why is this an important conversation for us to have, and why is this even necessary for us to have this? Okay, number one. So when we talk about integrating technology and is no longer news, and is no longer something that we need to start talking about when we talk about or start encouraging people to integrate technology. I believe at this time and age, everybody should see the importance, everybody should see the need, and everybody should be ready to take their teaching to the next level, to integrate technology in their teaching. And most teachers are actually doing this, and most are actually interested in going for this. The only thing is that we have to keep the main focus the focus. So we have to keep the main thing the main thing, and that's the idea of having this webinar on student-centered technology integration. Okay, so when we talk about student-centered technology integration, it simply means this: it means integration of technology to support, facilitate, and enhance student learning, student-centered learning. So it's easy to integrate technology. Yes, I know it's hard for some people, and we have seen people that integrate, and we still preach it. Yes, we preach it. We go ahead to encourage teachers, train teachers on how to integrate technology. But here is the catch. Here is something that we need to be very careful on, and that's why this webinar is necessary. Is the idea that it is not enough to integrate technology. And if you check, if you notice, AI tools are coming out in their numbers. There are more technological tools today than it has ever been, and more are still coming out. And you will see these coaches, training, there's everybody, including myself, will come out, integrate technology, do this, attend this training, do this, do that. Yes, it's very, very important. They'll tell you this is a new one, this is a new this thing in town. Now you are not doing this, you are outdated, you are not doing this, you are this, you are that, things like that. And in some way, and some extent, they are right. But the idea is that we should not integrate technology for technology's sake. That's the idea. And that's why I say we should keep the main thing the main thing. We should keep the major thing the major thing. The idea of integrating technology in the first place is not because technology is available. So we have to differentiate between availability and necessity. Okay, and I really want this to be engaging. So if there's anything that you catch from what I'm explaining, you can just drop it. Okay, and yes, if you're following, just please comment accessibility versus availability versus necessity. And the idea of availability versus necessity is that the fact that technology are available in abundance does not necessarily uh means that we should use it, especially when it comes to classroom. So the idea is going to, they said, there is this saying that say, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And this is something that we have to be very careful on when dealing with, when integrating technology in our classroom. Are you integrating technology because it's available, or are you integrating technology because it's necessary? This is very, very important. And for it to be necessary, we have to know that our first, in this era and in this age, we should not also be encouraging each other anymore, though we still continue to do it. It is not a new thing again that in the 21st century, a type of learning that can meet the demands of the future, the demands, not even the future, that can meet the present demands on our students, is a student-centered learning. It's a learning that focuses, that shift attention from the teacher to the students. A learning that prioritizes student needs over teachers' way. Yes, I really love the way that sounds. This thing, an approach to teaching, or an education that prioritizes student needs over teachers' way. What that simply means, what I mean is that in a teacher-centered learning, it is the way the teacher wants to teach that matters. So if I feel like teaching using lecture method, then I'm good. If I feel like teaching with playway method, then I'm good. But like teaching with any method, then I'm okay. But like teaching with discussion, then I'm okay. Yes, that's okay in the teacher-centered learning. But when it is student-centered, it means that when you say yes, student-centered, just interpret it as students are at the center. Students are at the center. It means that students are the one that determine everything you do. Students are the one. In fact, it is because of students that you are in the classroom. In fact, the only reason why you are a teacher is because you have learners. So, for you to achieve your goal as a teacher, your focus has to be on what? On your students. So, student-centered learning is simply talking about the idea that we shift our focus, the idea of shifting focus from the way we want to teach. In fact, shifting idea from the way we have been taught to teach. Shifting from how we were taught to teach. Shifting idea from how we were taught. I hope you're getting this, to how our students need to be taught. That's the idea of student-centered learning. I can see more people joining us. You're welcome. And I want you to please drop in the group. Let them know we have started. Let them know that you're getting value from this. So, as I'm explaining, the student-centered learning is the basic idea that is we shifting our focus from how we were taught in our own secondary school. I always say this, that most of the time, I think no, I've not always said, maybe this is the first time I'm going to say it, but it's something that always around in my head, is that most of us as teachers, we don't really teach the way we want to teach. We teach the way we have been taught. Yes, we teach most of the time the way we have been taught, the way we have seen, the way our teacher teach us. So most of the time, it's not as if that we have developed our own style of teaching, but the experience that we have as students from our teacher is also the same thing that we take to our learners. Now, the question I would like to ask, if that is the case for you, is that what was the result for you? If the way your teacher taught you then was the best way, what was the result? Can you look back to those age and be very grateful that the teacher taught you in that particular way? So the idea is that, and I'm going to repeat this, and I want you to please help me to type it, is that student-centered learning is shifting our focus. Sorry, student-centered learning is a type of learning that prioritizes the needs of the students over the ways of the teachers. So what it simply means, again, is that when we talk about student-centered learning, we're basically prioritizing the need of the students over even the methodology of the teachers, over how the teacher wants to teach, over how the teacher know how to teach. If you don't know how to teach in a way that is going to meet the needs of your students, then you go and learn. That's really the idea of 21st century. We can't afford to be mediocre. We can't afford to be stagnant. We can't afford to keep doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. We have to get to the point where we are honest with ourselves and get to the point of realization through consistent reflection that things need to change. That the type of education that students need in this age is not a teacher-centered. No, it's a student-centered. Now, so when we understand that, okay, the type of education we need is a student-centered learning, then we know that we need student-centered learning. So every teacher needs to subscribe to that. You need to get to your classroom tomorrow morning or make that decision that in my classroom, my students are going to be the focus. First, you have to know that your students are the one that employ you. The only reason why you are a teacher is because you have a teacher to teach. You have a student to teach. Once you don't have any student to teach, you are no longer you can't confidently or you can't come out and call yourself a teacher like that anymore. Okay, so the idea is that what qualifies you to be a teacher, and not just a teacher, what qualifies you to be an impactful teacher, what qualifies you to be a teacher with a difference is the impact you are making on your student. And if the only thing you do as a teacher is to go and cover syllabus, then you are, yes, I won't call you a teacher. You are not the type of teacher we need in this century, because we have gone past covering of syllabus, we have gone past copying of notes. You know, the idea that we just copy notes, we cover syllabus, and the idea that the only evidence we have for covering syllabus is notes. And then after we have covered the notes, there's nothing else to show. And that's why when you see when you are teaching a GSS2 student and you're asking, or you're teaching mathematics in GSS2 and you ask a student, what types of fraction, like the types of fraction, something that he or she was taught in GSS1, some of them were looking at you as if they're just hearing it for the first time. In fact, some of them were, if you are not the person that teach them, that taught them in GSS1, they will flatly tell you that we are not taught. You know why? The reason is because we teach your students, we teach them to have the knowledge in their book and for them to pass the exam. So after they have passed the exam, the knowledge has lost its relevance. They don't even remember. And this is something we have to change. Okay, if you are going to have a productive education, an education that is productive, an education that produces things, an education that is impactful, then we have to go beyond rote learning. We have to go beyond just passing of examination. We have to go to the extent where students can learn, enjoy learning, create something out of learning, understand the concept. You know, the thing is that there are some of us that we have good chemistry teachers, good biology teachers during our times, that even after 20 or 30 years of going to school, there's some topics that you can't forget in your life. Yes, let me just throw that out, and I want everybody to respond to this. So is there any topic? If there is, just comment yes. Is there any topic that's probably, I don't know when you finished? I mean, I finished secondary school in 2015. Okay, that's 9 years ago. Is there any topic you have learned that you are taught back then, as far back as it is, that you can't forget today, just because of the way your teacher teaches your teacher you are taught then? Do you have any experience that if it is yes, just say yes, I have. If it is no, just let me know. You just comment, you know. The idea is that we need to get to the point where if you teach a student a particular topic, you have to be very sure that okay, this topic that okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Blazes. Thank you, Ms. Ferromi. We have to get to the point where we know that okay, we are not just teaching students to just pass exam. We are teaching them for them to know this thing, for them to be able to apply it. Thank you, Mrs. Asimiu. So we have to go beyond, and this is where and this is the idea that we are in the world of technology. So nobody's going to tell you not to use technology, but the idea is that we have to use technology with purpose. That's the idea of student-centered technology integration, using of technology with purpose, using of technology with an end in mind, using of technology to facilitate student-centered learning. It's not technology to enhance student-centered learning. Any technology you are integrating in your classroom or in your school that is not facilitating student-centered learning, that is not making learning better, more engaging, more impactful for your students, then that technology is a teacher-centered. You know, the idea is that you can integrate. Thank God, I know most of you that are here are familiar with me. I teach flipped classroom. I teach on how to implement a flipped classroom. And I can tell you, matter of fact, if you're going to implement a flip, then I'm just still going to mention this. When we talk about implementing flipped classroom, you can't implement flipped classroom because Ability is training people how to implement flipped classroom. No. You can't implement flipped classroom because every other person is implementing flipped classroom. No. You have to implement flipped classroom based on the need of your student. The idea is that there has to be an assessment first. So when you deal with technology, the first thing that must come to your mind is, do I need this? Again, I said something before many people join us, and you can see it in the chat if you just scroll up. That's what Mr. Waliulai posted or commented, availability versus necessity. So the idea is that you don't use technology just because it's available. We have to go past the idea that we make use of technology because of its availability. So if you have Google Classroom on your phone and your student does not need Google Classroom, don't make use of it. Don't force unnecessary things on your student if it's not going to enhance their learning. So the idea is that we make use of technology that is necessary. And what we're talking about this night is a technology that enhances, that facilitates student-centered learning. So for us to now delve deeper into this, then we need to understand the characteristic of student-centered learning. What do we even call student-centered learning? What are the things we expect to see in a student-centered learning environment? An environment where the focus is on the student, on the need of the student, where we prioritize the need of the student over the method or the way of the teachers. Number one is that there has to be active learning. So in a student-centered learning environment, or in a student-centered classroom, there have to be active learning. Students have to engage. Students are not passive containers. Students are not containers that are not bucket that you just put water into. They are like pipe. They are like how should I put it? Like is it drum? Do we call it drum now? Like a Storex. Yes, like a Storex. You know, a Storex that you can pump water into, but it also has a tap. So there's an inflow and there's an outflow. So the Storex itself is not necessarily empty. It has something inside it. It can produce water on its end, and it can also take in more water. So that is the idea, that in a student-centered environment, we don't see students as an empty container. We see them as an half-filled Storex that we can pour something inside and it can also produce at the other end. So in this classroom, in a student-centered learning environment, students have to participate actively in the classroom. Okay, so we don't just do everything. So we have to go past the age of just going to the classroom, we write notes on the board, we explain, all the students just put their hands on their locker and then they start looking at you. And then when you are done, you ask them, and please, I want you to answer this, please. I just want this, just for fun. But please, I will be glad if you can answer this. Okay, so when you are done, just ask, do you all understand? Please answer, please. Please. Do you understand? Any question? So the idea, you just ask that question. Do you understand? Yes. Any question? No. You know, that is it. So we need to go beyond that. We need to go beyond just teaching, and then in fact, I need to tell you this. If you teach in a question, you teach in a classroom this time around, and you get to a point where you finish teaching, and your student did not ask question, that's a red flag on its own. Because what it means is that, and I'm still going to come to this, or let me even do it now, that what you have just taught your student does not encourage critical thinking, which is a very integral part of student-centered learning. The students have to be able to question. The students have to be able to think, have to be able to reflect. But that's part of it. In a student learning environment, students have to be given that opportunity to reflect, have to be given that opportunity to contribute, to ask questions. So in a classroom where you have taught, sometimes I have to let you know, the idea of no question does, and I'm very sure we have all experienced it before. So you know that when your students say there is no question, it does not mean that they know it. Does not mean that they all understand what you're talking about. And that's why when you say, do you have any question? No. And you give them a simple classwork, 90% of them might still not be able to do it. Okay, so the idea is that, in fact, when you have taught and nobody ask any question, challenge anything, ask for any clarification, or even ask for relate what you have taught, or ask questions. In fact, outside what you have taught, I mean, relating what you have taught to probably the real world experience, just know that you have not taught as much as you are supposed to. Because the idea is that when you say teach, teaching is what you do. But what's going to qualify your teaching is learning. So if you have taught and your students have not, if you are taught, and I need to tell you this, that you are not paid to teach. No, if you are only paid, you have been paid to teach as a teacher, then you can be at home and keep teaching at home. You can come into the classroom and teach the board only, and you get paid. The idea is that you are paid for students to learn. Just that the way to make them learn is by you teaching. If you can make them learn by not teaching, your school now, they will still be okay with it. But the idea is that if you are teaching and students are not learning, then we need to change something, and we need to do something very, 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 very quick. Okay, so that's the idea. So active learning, I've mentioned that. Critical thinking. So students in the student learning environment, students have to be encouraged to think. They have to give feedback, ask them questions, give feedback. And then another thing is collaboration. So it is not, no man is an island of knowledge, one. And in the world of work that we are today, one of the very key skills that everybody is expected to have is communication and collaboration. Okay, you have to be able to communicate your ideas. We expect that students, and right now we expect that students are not being trained to be job seekers. They are being trained to be problem solvers. And let me make this clear. When we say problem solver does not necessarily mean business person. Okay, problem solvers, someone that is in a job, okay, that has a job, is also a problem solver. I want you to know that one. And the idea is that there's some things that we say because it's very, and I'm guilty of this. There's something that we say because they are good to say, they're good to hear, and sometimes it can be misdirecting. It can be what's it called? It might not really communicate what we're trying to communicate. So, for example, when you say problem solvers, and I say job seekers, what I'm simply by job seekers is someone that is waiting for a job. Okay, what's it called? I'm a flipped classroom expert. Okay, I train how to implement the flipped classroom. I train on how to integrate technology in school. Okay, I can get out of school today. I can go out there today and go to a school, submit a proposal, and say, okay, I want to consult for your school, or I want to start training I want to train your teachers on how to integrate technology. I can go to organizations, or I can submit proposal for Ministry of Education and say, okay, this is so time, we want to do this, we want to do this with the teacher, and I can be employed. Schools can employ me as their consultant and say, okay, for this particular, we don't just want you to come and train our teachers for this, we want you to give them support, and I'll be employed and I'll be on their payroll, I will get paid. What I'm just trying to let you know is that as at that time, I have been employed, I have a job, but I did not get the job by sitting at home waiting, by seeking for a job. I get the job because I am solving a problem. So the banker that you see today is solving a problem. You as a teacher, though you're employed as a teacher, but you are solving a particular problem. But the idea is that the type of student we need, a student that can solve problem, either for themselves or for others, either by themselves rather. So you're solving the problem, you are into business now, so you want solving the problem. Your school owner is solving a problem. Your school owner decides to solve a problem, but you cannot solve it on her own. So you need people to solve it for her. That's why you are employed as a teacher. That's the idea. So and that's the idea in this world. Is either you are two things. Either you are the one creating, either you are working for someone, or people are working for you. And even when people are working for you, you're still working for yourself. So the idea is basically that whether our students are going to work for other person or they are not going to work for them, the most important thing is that they have to be trained, they have to be taught to be problem solvers. And part of what we need as a problem solver, I've mentioned critical thinking, and is that collaboration. They have to learn how to work together with people. They have to learn how to communicate. So in the classroom, it's not every time that you just teach and go out. Put them into group. There's rarely any topic you want to teach in this world that you cannot implement collaborative learning. There's rarely any topic. Let me share one simple idea for you. So there's something we call think, peer, share. Think, peer, share. It can be think, peer, write. It can be think, peer, anything. So think, peer simply means you give your student a question, for example, and you can tell them what is transportation. But most of the time, we need to go beyond. And I think there's going to be there has to be another session on Bloom taxonomy. Yes, there has to be another session on Bloom taxonomy, probably by next week. I'm going to have that, but I don't want this to be long. Okay, there have to be another session on Bloom taxonomy. So why I mentioned Bloom taxonomy is that when you ask a question like what, we are basically dealing with the lowest level of cognition, which is knowledge. But then any question you want to ask, so let's say we're asking a question on that engage your student thinking, that require them to think. Like for example, we can say, okay, which question should I use now? So let's say we still want to deal with transportation. So we can ask, okay, which is the safest means of transportation? Which is the safest means of transportation? I mean, we give them options. Okay, we have 4 major means of transportation. We have the air, we have the rail, we have the road, and we have our water. So we are asking the student which is the safest means of transportation. Now, the idea is that when we talk about think is that every student think about this individually. Okay, they think about it individually. Then peer means is a 3-step something. Peer means that they share it with a partner, with someone beside them, or probably they have a partner already. They have grouped them into 2-2, or even 3-3, 4-4. Does not have to, doesn't have to be 2. So in that particular group, probably 2, 3, or 4, depending on the number of students you have, or the number of size of group that you want to have. So they share it among their group. From there, you realize that they're not going to say the same thing. They're going to say different things in their group. But the idea is that they have to be able to bring up all the ideas together. And then the idea that they have brought together is what they're going to share in the classroom. That's think, peer, share. Think is that you think it on your own. Peer is that you share it with someone else. Then you combine your own answer with the answer of the other person, and then you share it. So you can now have a representative to now share it to the class. Okay, so that's it. And guess what? We can even have or what is it called? Just example that I just said now. Different means of transportation. I want to give you another illustration. So different means of transportation, and we're talking about the safest. So you can ask, okay, so if you choose air, come to this side. If you choose water, come to this side. If you choose land, come to this side. If you choose rail, come to this side. So everybody are going to have. So what that means is that automatically you now have 4 groups. Then from the 4 groups, you can ask them, oh yeah, everybody, even though they are choosing the same thing, they're not going to have the same idea. So you share your ideas together and give us 1 or 2 representatives to come and present on the in front of the class. So now we have a debate on our hand. Which of the means of transportation is the safest? The idea is that the idea is unlimited, is limitless, is numerous. It's just for us to first decide that okay, we want to go beyond the normal traditional teaching to a type of teaching that engage our learner, that encourage collaboration and communication. So that's it. Another one is personalized learning. Personalized learning. So personalized learning is a learning that is directed to the needs of our students. So what it simply means is that when we talk about personalized learning, it means that we're teaching one student at a time. Excuse me, please. And this is what we talk about. I know for those of us that are part of the session, the last session we had, which is the first edition of the Progressive Educators webinar on becoming a progressive educator. I took a long time to explain equity. And there's a picture I sent here Let me show it up to get that. So there's a picture here. Where are you? So there's a picture here where I explain what I used to explain because of the equity. So that's really the idea of personalized learning, that we teach our students based on their needs. Okay, you just click on that picture to see what I mean by equity. Okay, I might not even explain much this night, but the idea is that we teach our students as individual. We have to understand that our students are as unique as their fingerprints. So they are not, even though we put them in the same classroom, they don't have the same needs and they require different supports to learn. So the idea is that if you're going to teach them, we need to take into consideration students with different learning styles. So we have 4 major learning styles. We have the visual learners. Is it 4 now? Yes, 4. Now the visual learners, we have the verbal learner, we have the auditory learner, we have the kinesthetic learner. Visual learner are the learners that learn best by seeing. Verbal learners that learn best by reading and writing. Okay, auditory learner are learners that learn best by hearing. And the kinesthetic learner are learners that learn best by doing. So they don't like sitting down in one place. They learn by doing hands-on learning, things like that. So the idea is that whatever you want to teach, can you find a way to be able to meet the needs of all the learners in your classroom with these different needs? Can you find a way to make sure that the auditory learner gain as much as the verbal learner gain as much as the visual learner, and even the learner also not able to on okay. So, how to another is and technology comes in is that students have to have access to learning. Students have to be able to learn at their pace. Also, they also have to be able to learn in their most convenient time. What is the idea of this? The idea of this is that we have gone past the time and age where learning, let me say teaching now, learning is restricted to the 4 walls of the classroom anymore. So we need to get out of our classroom, and we need to find a way to provide access to our students, provide access to learning for our students, even while they're out of the classroom. Do you know why? It's part of the personalized learning approach. You need to understand that there are some students that they need to, is not just based on their own cognitive ability, based on their IQ. They may not, they have to hear what you're saying more than once for them to get it. The idea is that, and that's the idea of where equity comes in, because that is injustice. That someone in your classroom needs to hear you twice, but another person needs to hear you once. So when you say whatever you're saying once, what it means is that you're satisfying the needs of the other student, and the needs of the one student is unsatisfied. And this is going to show, and it's going to reflect in his or her performance. It's going to reflect and it's going to show in his or her performance. So the idea is that as teachers, can we find a way to make our learning, our teaching and learning, to be accessible to our students even while they are not in the classroom? And this is where we are gradually getting into technology, because the only means of doing that, apart from using, and we can make use of paper, can make use of textbook, can make use of learning materials, reading materials, but then we can also go beyond that. And there are even limits to the reading material that we want to make use of. Okay, there's a limit to it. But then this is now the idea. So when we have understood that, this is now where the necessity of technology comes in. because now technology can help us to do this and more. Okay, I forgot to mention this. So part of student-centered learning is choice and control. For students to be able to decide, they have some basic level of control on their learning, and that's part of the accessibility. And they also have a choice on how they want to learn. That's also part of the personalized learning. So those that want to learn by hearing, can we provide for their needs? Those that want to learn by just probably watching video, can we provide for their needs? I know we still have a long way to go for this, especially in Nigeria and Africa generally. But the idea is that we have to start somewhere. Yes, that's the idea. We have to start somewhere. Okay, so that's that. So now, what are the technologies that we need? So let me start from the accessibility part of it. So part of the technology that we need in this time and age, and that every school should adopt, is a learning management system. So as a teacher, you need to find a way to provide access to what you're teaching to your students beyond just normal textbook. Okay, beyond just your notes. Okay, so the thing is, your notes have soft copy. Can you create a virtual representation of your notes, something like a PowerPoint slide on that particular note that is going to contain just the key points of what you want to teach? Add appropriate pictures to illustrate your points. Create a slide. You don't even have to print it out. Your own is just, and I know most schools now have WhatsApp groups. In fact, even public schools now have WhatsApp groups. Their students. Can you just do something like that and send it to your students? So even after they have listened to you in the classroom, they can still have something they can go back to read. They can still have something they can go back to go through, to get reminded of what they have been taught. Or can you take it a step further and just create video? And the idea is that if you know how to create PowerPoint or know how to create slide, then nothing should stop you from creating video, because it's just a step further. Okay, but the idea is that we also need to consider cost of internet, because the higher the material, the higher the cost of you transferring it from your own end to the students. But the idea is that, can we find a way to get our teaching materials, to get access to, give our students access to them even while they are not in classroom, to further learning? It's going to be like a supplementary learning material for them. So any student that is having difficulty getting what you're dealing with in classroom, it's not necessarily that now refer them to, okay, you're going to get more materials on it, but is that while they are at home, they also have some kind of autonomy and control, and they can be able to go back. And you realize that most of the time, even in the exam, the topic our students perform excellently the most in the exam will be the topics that we just treated with them before the exam. So the idea is that when you have something like this, students can easily revise even before exam, can easily revise, they can easily go there, revise the material. Everything is going to be, and what are we using? What type of technology are we using for all this? A learning management system, as I've mentioned. There are a lot of them. Example, and the one I recommend, and it is free, very easy to use, simple to use, is Google Classroom. Okay. Another one is another technology that we can implement is assessment and interactive content. So what it simply means is that, okay, can we find a way to assess our student understanding in a very gamified way? So there are game-like assessment tools. I said game-like assessment tools. So they are assessments, they are meant to assess the understanding of your students, but more importantly, they are game-like. They are like game. They are rewarding the rewards with points. They have this leaderboard. They have all these features of a game. Yes, our students love games. They love playing games. They love being competitive in their own way. So the idea is that, can we incorporate this in our learning? Okay, yes, you love to play game. Now come and play game while learning. So it's learning while playing and playing while learning together. So it gives them the excitement, and there are a number of tools we can also use for this. We have Kahoot, we have quizzes, we have a lot of them. But the idea is also that or for you to improve your own teaching and learning, and for you to be able to meet the need of your students, you need to assess. I need to have feedback. Okay, you need to know how much they have learned. So, for example, now we're talking about WhatsApp group. So, instead of you giving your student that normal assignment, where they're just going to go home, and then they're just going to what is it called? Go and do the assignment, and then you wait for them to come the next day. Since you have a WhatsApp group, can you create a quiz on quizzes? Send a link to your student and tell them everybody should attempt it before this time or before they come back to school tomorrow. And guess what? As they are attempting it, they are seeing every other person that have attempted. They are seeing their score. They are seeing how much they get. Can even make it to be live, depending. And because students may not necessarily have access to all the material or the phone, the laptop, to be able to do this, in a group or together in a classroom. But then, can they do it at home using a parent device? Okay, so that's the idea. Another one which I've explained is making use of videos. So you can curate videos, and you can even curate it. Curate means that you're getting videos that other people have curated, but then you're putting it together. So this means it has to be intentional. And remember, we're talking about student-centered technology integration. It means what we're simply talking about here is that we are integrating technology intentionally. So you're not just integrating technology for integration's sake. We are integrating it because it is necessary, and that's what's going to meet the needs of your students. So that's the idea of student-centered technology integration. So I've talked about videos. We also have collaborative tools. What are the tools that you can make it so that your student, that can enable your students to collaborate with each other? For example, now you put them into a group. You can make use of Google Workspace, Google Docs. On Google Docs, a lot of people can work on Google Docs at the same time. So for example, now your student can generate it. For example, now you have put them into a group, or let's say the example I gave earlier of them discussing about, or what is it called, of them discussing about the safest means of transportation. Okay, so let's say you give them as an assignment, and they have groups. Let's say 3 in a group or 4 in a group. They can create a shared document, and 3 or 4 of them can work on the document at the same time. Yes, they can work on them at the same time. So the collaboration that is supposed to do in the classroom, they can still do it while online in their different location. You can just fix a time. Okay, let's meet online. Let's meet it on Google Docs. But this is so time we discuss this, and then they do whatever they want to do. And you can also be part of this thing too. You monitor how it's going. So the idea is that technology should not be our boss. Integrating technology should not be our main focus. Our main focus should be most importantly student learning. And that's why it's very, very important we discuss student-centered technology integration. So to round up, I'm just going to give us some things that we need to take into consideration when considering integrating technology. So the number one is that for any type of technology you want to integrate, you have to start by identifying the learning objective. Yes, start by identifying the learning objective. What do you want your learners to do, to achieve? What do you want your learners to achieve after this particular lesson? And what type of technology is going to make them to achieve it? So that's simply the idea. So what do you want to learners to achieve from this? What do you want the learners to learn? What do you want them to be able to do? And what technological tools can you make use of to achieve this? Another thing is that, so when dealing with technology, you also need to, and if you're going to make use of technology in your classroom, one thing that you have to invest in is training and support. So you're not just the only one that needs to be trained on how to use technology. Your students also need to be trained on how to use technology, because technology that you know is technology that you know how to use, that you can use. If they don't know how to use it, for example, now, if they don't, for you to give them a quiz or quizzes, it means that you must have first show them a demo in the class, so that they know they know how to answer the question, they know how to navigate the platform. So you don't just leave them on their own and just figure it out themselves. So you have to be training and support. I also need to encourage experimentation. Okay, they're not going to learn it at once one day. So give them the opportunity to explore, to experiment with different tools, For them, if in fact, for them to even discover more tools on their own. Another one is that monitor and assess them. Okay, so monitor the use of all this technology. That's one. Two is that assess it, compare it with learning outcome. Is this thing actually improving learning outcome? Remember, you're not just integrating technology for integration's sake. You're integrating technology because you want to facilitate student-centered learning. And in fact, why are you facilitating student-centered learning? Because you want to improve academic performance. You want your students to learn in an engaging way. You want to enhance their learning. So check, is this integration technology actually birthing the outcome that I want it to birth? Is it producing the outcome that I want it to produce? If not, assess it. Look for better ways of integrating technology. The last one is facilitate feedback. Okay, find a way to always get feedback from the students. So from what you're using, technology you're using to teach them, and the one they are using to learn on their own, try to get their feedback. How is it for them? How easy are they finding to use it? Okay, do they have any feedback? And this is not just about technology on its own, and it's part of students and learning. Let them have some kind of time when they have the opportunity to comment on how you are teaching them. Okay, what can you do better? Okay, remember, it's a shared commitment. It's not just you that you own the class, and just them that own the class. It is it's owned by both of you. And then, but you have to know that you have to be given the priority because their needs have to be given the priority. I do not say their wants. I know that I've never mentioned since morning, since I've been explaining or I've been teaching that you should teach them the way they want. No, I mean satisfy their needs, not necessarily their wants. If you have to go with their wants, you're not going to achieve anything. You can prefer that you start playing for money tonight, but then go for their needs. Okay, so this is where I'm going to stop for today. So I hope this has been valuable. I hope this has been great. Okay, I hope that this has been valuable to some extent. Okay, if you have any question, I'm going to take your questions now. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate this, and the recording is going to be up for those of us that join late. Thank you. And then I just want to make this announcement. I'm currently working on a training, though it's not really certain. I'm going to post the details in the group. Okay, so the training is going to focus on how to integrate technology in the classroom. It's going to be a 3 days training, and it's going to be, I think the date for the training is going to be from June 6, 7, and 8. Okay. But then more details of this is going to communicate in the group. Just please watch out for it. It's going to be on most of the technology that I've explained today, how you can effectively integrate them in your classroom, going beyond just you integrating technology for integration's sake. Why you can use them to facilitate student-centered learning. All right. So thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you so much, Mrs. Asmiyu. If you have any question, I would love to take them now. Thank you so much for being part of this from till the end. Thank you so much. So do you have any question, please? If you have question, if you have question, you can unmute yourself to ask question. So you can unmute yourself. So in the absence of that, we're just going to call it a day. This is 48 minutes already. I don't want this to be, in fact, this is longer than I expect it to be, but then it's okay. So again, thank you so much for joining. So okay, please ask a question. So you can unmute yourself to ask, ma, or you can type it out.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Ma. Yes, I can. I can hear you clearly.
Sir. All right, sir. Thank you. So the question I want to ask is that as a teacher planning to develop yourself, I'm talking about personal development. Please, how can you save up for training? Because I'm really having a hard time saving up for training. Then how can you identify your niche? I understand that there is a business side of teaching. So I want to know how you can identify your niche, how to know your niche. And how can you save up for training. It has been so hard. It's not easy, but I'm trying. So if there is something you can just explain a little, just put me through a little on that. I just want you to, if there is any experience you've had before, so while you are trying to develop yourself, you can just explain more on that,
Okay.
please.
Oh, oh, oh,
Do
okay.
you
Thank you.
get
I
my
really love the question.
question?
Yes, I got the question. So let me just paraphrase it. So what you're asking is how to save up for training. So you're this, let's say you're this person that is interested in personal development, but then uh you find it difficult to be able to remove from your salary to save, sorry, to attend trainings. And then you also ask how to identify your needs. Okay, so identifying your need is very is simple. It's not that hard. First is identify your goal. So the idea is to first identify your goal. What do you want to achieve as a teacher? Okay, what do you want to achieve as a teacher? So what do you want to achieve as a teacher? What do you so for example, now I remember like 2 or 3 weeks ago I recorded a video, uh a short, I think a 1 minute video on, so actually it was a video I recorded for the beginning of the term, and I said one thing that, okay, you need to see the term, you need to finish the term before you start it. So the idea of finishing the term before you start it is that you setting goals of what you want to achieve at the end of the term. So, for example, now let's say you are the type of, and one of some of the things I mentioned that you should, teachers need to focus on when doing this is that, okay, for example, now your financial income. Okay, so how much do you want to be earning as a teacher? Okay, do you need to have any certification? Do you want to get more certification at the end of the term? What uh, outcome do you expect from your students? What performance do you expect from your students? So when you have determined all these goals that you want to achieve, let's say you have timeline, you say, okay, in the next 1 year, I want to do this as a teacher, I want to become this educator, I want to have this certification, I have to have this. Then you can now decide, you can now ask that question. And asking the question, you have to be honest with yourself. What do I need to achieve this? So it does not always begin with need, it begins with why, begin with goal. So when you have the goal, then the need will be evident. Okay, the need will be evident. So the first thing you have to do is to first, decide on what do you want to achieve. Then from there, so from what you want to achieve, then you can now decide, okay, for example, now if you want to become a teacher that earn more, if you want to be able to earn more, you can ask, okay, what skills do I need to earn more? Okay, what skills do I need to develop for me to position myself for more salary as a teacher? Okay, you might say, okay, I want to learn how to integrate technology, but I want to add that to it. I want to, for example, you're in early years now. Okay, I want to learn the Montessori method. I want to learn phonics. I want to learn, I want to improve my handwriting. Things like that. So the first is identify your goal. Then also, but then decide what you need. Another thing is identify areas of improvement. Okay, what area do you need to improve on? Okay, we know ourselves. We know things that you want to be able to do better. You know things that when other people are doing it, you feel like, wow, I wish I could be able to do this. Identify those areas. Okay, then when you identify them, then you can now start deciding on. You can now decide, okay, I want to attend this training. I want to attend that training. So when it comes to saving up, there's more of decision. Okay, so I've have a lot of experience with that, and I still have experience with that, and I understand that the salary may not be that much, and it might not even satisfy the needs of the basic need that you have already. But the most important thing you have to know is that your personal development is also a basic need, and in fact, this personal development is an expression of self-love. And I always say this, that it is something that is valuable that you add value to. Okay, when you are valuable, you find it easy to add value to yourself. And by means of adding value to yourself, we mean developing yourself. And the idea is that, so let me ask this question. Do we find it difficult to feed a cow or a goat that is producing meat? Not let me use meat now. Let me say a cow. Do we find it difficult to feed a cow that is producing abundant milk? The idea is that you don't have any issue with it. So far, is producing. And you know that, okay, this particular cow, if I feed it more, I'm going to get more milk. So the idea is that when you develop yourself, you become more equipped to even make more money. So the idea, so it's a sacrifice thing. It's not going to be easy because it's a sacrifice, an opportunity cost. Is that you have to sacrifice something for you to be able to do it. So it might be you just decide that, okay, out of my salary, I'm going to be spending 10% every month. 10% of my salary every month on my personal development. It can start from you can start by you reading a book. It can start by you attending a training. It does not have to be a big training. You don't have to start with big training. It can be all this small training, 1K, 2K, 5K trainings, depending on what you can afford. And in fact, sometimes money is not the first thing. In fact, I will tell you, there's some, if you cannot afford to pay for trainings yet, though I will tell you matter of fact, because I'm a trainer myself, that there's you can't compare a paid training to a free training. There are always some things that trainers are going to teach you in a free training, but you can start with there. You can start if the only thing you can attend is free trainings. You can start with them, but most importantly, as you're attending them, you implement. When you implement, you get better. As you get better, and you implement what you're doing, you get positioned to earn more, and then from there you also see the need to what's it called, to enroll for paid training. And then from there you can start saving up. It's not even saving up, you can just decide. It's just going to be like a one-time decision. Okay, once I get my salary, I'm going to extract 10%. I'm going to attend a training with this 10%, not less than, not more than. If you attend a training and you still have the money left, spend the money on yourself, on your personal development, because that is the person that is bringing in the money. And when they are bringing in the money, and when you improve that person, the person stands a chance of bringing in more money. So I hope I answer your question, ma. Okay, I hope, does it answer your question? Okay. Oh, all right. Thank you so much. I'm glad I answered your question. All right, so we're just going to call it a day here. So thank you so much, everyone, once again for joining. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much, and